Footballers, as we know, heroes to millions. But growing up as a kid, who was your hero?
Oh, so I've picked my dad, my old man, yeah. He's always been someone I've looked up to growing up, and I think one of his main messages growing up as a kid was always, be comfortable in your own skin, be comfortable in who you are, and you can achieve anything that you put your mind to. So I've gone with my dad. From a football perspective, my dad was always the man I looked to for advice on football and kind of how I judge my performances, really, up until probably about 16. And I'd be playing sometimes, I'd be looking, and I'd look at him and he'd go, give me a thumbs up, and I'd know that I was playing well. And then I'd sometimes look and he'd be like to know that I probably needed to do a bit more. But I think in a sense he was always, and still to this day, my biggest fan, and definitely a catalyst for the confidence that I have in myself today. He helped instill that in me at a young age, and I think probably the most important person in football terms for shaping me into the man I am today.
So is it fair to say that that confidence wasn't always there?
Yeah, I think we've endured many ups and downs. There's been tough times where I've been a bit down in the dumps, and I think I remember when I was on loan at Northampton and I'd come back on the motorway, probably got the last 5 minutes or something, and it was a relatively good spell on loan. I was 18, 19 at the time, and I was like, "Dad, are you in?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm in." And I remember a few times I'd just go around, have a pizza with my dad, and we'd just chat about football. And I think at the time he was going through a little bit of a tough time as well. So I think in that there was a lot of strength that I saw in him. And looking back on it now, it's the times like that when I've been kind of at low points that he's always, being consistent in saying, just keep doing what you're doing, keep believing in your ability, keep believing in yourself, and you'll get there.
You actually said something once that really hit home with me. You were saying when you played badly, there was the silent car journeys home. I think I would have had a lot more of them than you. But that was the thing, right?
Do you know what? I think that them times, being looking at it, I think helped me deal with kind of coming under criticism when I first came to Everton. And, perhaps I didn't have a good game, and you just, I was a teenager at the end of the day. And next thing you know, you're getting pelters from the fans, and you don't get prepared to deal with that, you know what I mean? You technically, tactically, you get prepared as a young kid in football terms, but to deal with the mental side of the game, you don't get prepared for that. So I think them tough car journeys home, and I remember one time I think I scored, and we'd actually won 2-1. And every time I got in the car with my dad, because he was at every game, I'd get either the silent treatment if I didn't play too well, or he'd be like, "I thought you were good today, son," one of them ones.
And that meant the world, I guess.
Yeah,
with the
absolutely.
Little words.
I'm waiting to get in the car and thinking, what's he going to say? And I remember getting in thinking I played quite well today, and he didn't speak to me all the way home. But I think them times where I had to kind of overcome his expectation, because no one expects more from me than myself, now. But there was a time when I used to kind of hold what he thought in such high regard, as you do, because he's your dad. And I think getting over that then helped me then be able to deal with certain criticism.
Just paint a bit of a picture of your dad.
Just always kind of oozed confidence and worked hard. I had 2 jobs. He'd take me to football on a Sunday if I was playing for Handsworth Boys or stuff like that, but he also used to work and things. So I think across my whole family, just hard-working people, and my dad included. And, as a male figure in your life, he was, the perfect one for me to kind of grow. At school, it was, get your head down. And it was always a kind of a know right from wrong. I got taught right from wrong quite early. And my dad never used to really shout at me, but it was just all he had to do was talk, and I'd listen. He played a bit of football himself when he was a YTS at Sheffield United, when he was 18. I think he had a decent chance, but my mum and dad were young when they had me, both 18 I think. So my dad didn't get offered a pro contract at Sheffield United, and I think his mum, my nan, said, you know, you need to go and get you're having a son, you need to go and get a job. So he ended up going to university. I think he could have gone on trial at like Ipswich and Tottenham, I think, at the time. This is what he tells me. And he ended up going to uni instead and becoming a building surveyor, and he's a building surveyor to this day.
The first thing that strikes me there is he's given up a lot to make you what you are.
Definitely, and I think you'd ask yourself, if I didn't come along when I came along, would he have then gone on trial down there or wherever, and where that could have taken him. And I think it was like a pure, he had a love for football, and then from as early as I can remember, that was in me as well, you know, love football. But yeah, I think definitely sacrificed a potential Premier League career, I think, to allow me to go on and play instead.
Having said that, I think it's your very first Instagram post. You're on his shoulders, and I do not think you're old enough to be drinking that champagne.
I don't think so either. I'm not sure my dad looks old enough to be drinking it either.
Where was that?
That was Handsworth Boys, yeah. We just won the league, so I'd have been under 7s or under 8s. And it might have even been the season before I went to and signed for Sheffield United Academy. But yeah, I think my dad was still playing a little bit Sunday League then as well.
And so while we're on social media, what he posted, I think it was on Facebook, when you got your England goal, made your debut, it made me well up a little bit, reading it back. How did you feel reading that from your old man?
Just something that kind of we've always, between, you know, me and him and my family, know what I've gone through to get to where I am, and I suppose the sacrifices that have been made. And, you know, seeing that kind of like got spread around, I think it was just truth, like truthful words. Because when I talk about like the ups and the downs, you know, I'm fortunate that I've had him there and my mum there and my family there around me in them moments to be able to then enjoy the ups, my England debut, my England goal. And just kind of, I think probably to people that perhaps doubted me in the past, it was a bit of I told you so, do you know what I mean?
So, but would he say to you, be proud of yourself, be proud of the colour of your skin?
100%, yeah. I think a message that has always been delivered from my old man is be proud of who you are, be comfortable in your skin. You know, it was a predominantly white area where I grew up in, but a nice area. You know, I understand that people of colour live in different areas that have had it much, much worse than what I did. So I was a little bit different to the people growing up around me. But the confidence that I have and the comfortableness, if that's a word, in myself is, you know, stems back from my dad always kind of being there for me as a man, you know, being able to kind of spread that energy of just being, you know, we're all right, we are who we are, and we go through life that way.
How much do you think of the success you've had, the nice young man you are, how much do you owe of that to your dad?
Massive amounts, I think. I think when I touched on, you know, the mental side of the game and that belief you have to have in yourself because it's a competitive environment, you know, that's come from my old man. And I think if I didn't have that, him kind of setting that standard for myself of what he thought I could achieve, which then made me set the standard of what I thought I could achieve. If I didn't have that, you know, I might not be where I am today. So, you know, I do owe him a lot.
Especially if you're from a group that hasn't always had equality, that has faced prejudice, how important is a role model and how important is it to follow your dreams?
For me, it's all I've ever known, and I'm fortunate, you know, to be living out my dream today. But I think that having role models, for me as a kid, having role models, you know, of colour, and then becoming probably, you know, a role model myself today, which is still strange for me. I think it's massively important because you see someone that looks like you, that perhaps might have come from somewhere that you've come from, achieving great things. So then there's no question of, well, I can't do that because I'm black, you know, because he's already done it. And I suppose that's what I was brought up on, more regardless of skin colour. It was, you know, if he can do it, then you can do it. So I think in terms of role models, it's massively important.